Have you ever sat in your car after pulling into the driveway, staring at the steering wheel, unable to move? The engine is off, the house is right there, but the simple act of unbuckling your seatbelt feels like lifting a boulder. It's not just that you had a busy day. It's a profound, heavy ache that sits behind your eyes and deep in your chest. You are bone deep tired. You've been strong for so long, managing expectations, fixing problems, navigating sudden shifts in your life, and pretending you have it all under control. But the truth is, the tank is empty. When you reach this level of exhaustion, well-meaning advice like just practice self-care or think positively feels like an insult. How can you heal when you're too tired to even try? The first step isn't action. It's admitting that the armor you've been wearing has become too heavy to carry. It is acknowledging that you cannot fight your way out of exhaustion. You look down at your hands, resting on the wheel, and they feel like strangers to you. They are the same hands that have held up everyone else's world. The hands that cooked the meals, typed the emails, signed the papers, and wiped away tears, both your own and those of the people who depend on you. But right now, they just feel heavy. You can hear the faint sound of life moving outside your closed car window. Maybe it's the hum of a neighbor's lawnmower, the distant sound of traffic, or the wind rustling through the trees. The world keeps turning, completely oblivious to the fact that inside this tiny metal box, a human soul is quietly unraveling from sheer exhaustion. You realize you are terrified of opening the car door, because opening it means stepping back into a role. It means being the one who knows what to do, the one who cleans up the messes, the one who smiles and says, "Don't worry, I've got it." But you don't have it anymore. Not today. We are taught from a very young age how to build our lives, how to accumulate achievements, and how to push through discomfort. We are taught that crying is a weakness, and that taking a pause is a luxury we can only afford once everything else is perfectly taken care of. But the problem with that equation is that the work is never truly finished. The demands just keep coming, like waves crashing against a shore that is slowly being eroded into nothing. You have spent months, maybe even years, living on autopilot. You wake up before your alarm with your heart pounding, your mind already racing through a checklist of duties before your feet even touch the floor. You swallow your own anxiety, push down your physical aches, and paste on a face that makes the rest of the world comfortable. You have become a master of disguise, convincing everyone around you, and nearly convincing yourself, that you are invincible. But your body doesn't lie. Your body has been keeping score, and right now, it is demanding a reckoning. This tiredness isn't something a good night's sleep can fix. It isn't the kind of fatigue that goes away after a long weekend or a vacation. It is a deep, structural weariness that has seeped into your bones, your muscles, and your spirit. It is the exhaustion of a person who has been carrying a heavy box for miles, refusing to put it down because they are afraid of what will happen if they stop. You are afraid that if you let go of the box, even for a single second, everything you have worked so hard to build will come crashing down around you. You are afraid that people will see you as weak or selfish or broken. Letting go of that fear is the hardest thing you will ever do, but it is also the only way back to yourself. Healing cannot begin while you are still trying to maintain the illusion of strength. It begins in the quiet, messy, unglamorous moment when you finally look at your own reflection in the rearview mirror and whisper, "I can't do this anymore." It is the moment you allow the tears you've been holding back for months to finally spill over, hot and uncensored, down your face. Those tears are not a sign of defeat. They are the first drops of rain after a long, devastating drought. They are the proof that you are still human, still alive, and still worthy of the same tenderness and care that you have so freely given to everyone else. It is okay to be done. It is okay to let the world wait. We live in a culture that treats rest as something you have to earn, a reward for an arbitrary amount of productivity. We've been conditioned to believe that if we aren't actively fixing our lives, we are failing. So when life changes or unexpected emotional hurdles arrive, our instinct is to run faster. We plan, we overthink, we organize, and we force ourselves to look for solutions. But you cannot think your way out of a depleted nervous system. This constant motion is often a defense mechanism, a way to avoid facing how hurt, disappointed, or overwhelmed we actually feel. When we pause, the silence speaks. And sometimes what it says is terrifying. Yet, continuing to push through this fatigue only deepens the wound. Healing cannot begin in the same frantic state of mind that caused the burnout. We have to dismantle the belief that our worth is tied to how much we can endure before breaking. Think about the last time you actually sat still without a phone in your hand, without a television buzzing in the background, and without a mental to-do list running through your mind. It feels almost impossible, doesn't it? The moment we slow down, a strange, uncomfortable anxiety begins to creep in. We mistake this anxiety for a sign that we need to get back to work, but it's actually just the sound of our hidden pain trying to catch up with us. We use busyness like a shield, believing that if we just keep moving, the sadness, the disappointment, and the grief won't be able to touch us. We tell ourselves, if I can just get through this week, if I can just finish this project, if I can just fix this one problem, then I will rest. But the horizon keeps moving, and the rest never comes. You have become addicted to the momentum of your own stress. When your body is running on adrenaline and cortisol for months at a time, stillness feels dangerous. Your mind treats a quiet afternoon not as a sanctuary, but as a threat. You feel a frantic urgency to do something, to clean the kitchen, to text someone back, to figure out your 5-year plan. We have built an entire existence on the shaky foundation of distraction. We are terrified of what we will find if we stop running. We are terrified that if we stand still, we will have to look at the relationships that aren't working, the career that drains our soul, or the deep feelings of loneliness we've been trying to outrun. But running faster does not change the destination. It just ensures you arrive there completely broken. You cannot cure exhaustion by adding more tasks to your life, even if those tasks are labeled as self-improvement. Buying the books, listening to the motivational podcasts, and forcing yourself through a rigid routine when your spirit is crying out for quiet is just another form of constant motion. It is just another way of telling yourself that who you are right now in your tired state is not enough. It is a subtle form of self-rejection. True healing requires a radical act of defiance against this cultural programming. It requires you to look at the unfinished chores, the unanswered messages, and the unresolved problems, and choose your own well-being over the pressure to produce. It means recognizing that your body is not a machine that can be forced into compliance. You are a living, breathing ecosystem, and just like the earth, you require seasons of winter, seasons where nothing visible grows, where everything goes quiet, and where energy is conserved deep beneath the surface. Let yourself drop the pace. Let the world spin without you for an hour, a day, or a week. The sky will not fall if you take your hands off the wheel. The people who truly love you will not abandon you just because you have nothing left to give right now. This constant need to fix, to change, and to manage is a heavy, invisible cage. It is time to step out of it. You do not need to prove your value by burning yourself out. Your worth was never up for debate, and it certainly isn't measured by how much of yourself you can destroy in the name of staying busy. Turn off the noise, close your eyes, and allow yourself to simply exist in the quiet space where nothing is expected of you. Think about how you treat a friend who is completely spent. You wouldn't look at them and say, "Why aren't you doing more? Why are you so weak?" You would draw the blinds, hand them a glass of water, and tell them to sleep. Yet, when it comes to ourselves, we meet our exhaustion with harsh criticism. We get angry at our bodies for needing rest. We feel guilty for canceling plans or letting a chore slide. This inner conflict only drains the tiny bit of energy we have left. What if, just for a moment, you stopped fighting the tiredness? What if you looked at this profound fatigue not as a failure, but as a direct message from your system? It is saying, no more. We cannot keep going on this path. Meeting your weariness without judgment means allowing yourself to be tired without needing a justification for it. Imagine sitting on the edge of your bed, looking at your shoes, and feeling a wave of shame wash over you because you don't have the energy to go for a walk, or cook a healthy meal, or be the cheerful partner or parent everyone expects you to be. That shame is an extra weight you are forcing yourself to carry on top of an already unbearable load. You are penalizing yourself for being human. We have this cruel voice inside our heads that treats our limitations as character flaws. When our bodies scream for stillness, that voice whispers that we are being lazy, that we are falling behind, or that everyone else is handling life better than we are. But that voice is lying to you. When you judge your exhaustion, you double it. You take the physical and emotional fatigue of your life circumstances and multiply it by adding self-hatred to the mix. You are essentially standing over a person who has collapsed from a marathon and yelling at them to get up and run faster. It is a quiet form of cruelty we inflict on ourselves every single day. We apologize for being tired. We say things like, "I'm sorry. I'm just so useless today." Or, "I don't know what's wrong with me. I should be able to handle this." Why do you need to apologize for reaching your limit? Why does your body have to completely break down or get sick before you believe that your tiredness is valid? Let's try a different way. Imagine dropping the defense weapons you've been holding against yourself. Picture what it would feel like to lay down the heavy shield of your own expectations. The next time you feel that heavy, sinking feeling in your chest, instead of fighting it with coffee, or distracting yourself with a screen, or scolding yourself for being unproductive, just sit with it. Place a hand over your heart, breathe in the heavy air of your fatigue, and say to yourself, "It makes total sense that I am this tired. I have been through so much. I am allowed to have nothing left to give right now." This shift in perspective changes everything. It changes your exhaustion from a battlefield into a sanctuary. When you stop judging the weariness, the guilt begins to dissolve. You realize that you don't need to earn your right to rest. You don't need to complete a certain number of tasks before you are allowed to sit in the quiet. Your body is not an adversary you need to conquer or outsmart. It is a loyal friend that has carried you through every difficult day, every heartbreak, and every transition of your life. It is tired because it has been looking after you under impossible conditions. It is time for you to look after it. Give yourself permission to be a little messy, a little slow, and entirely unpolished for a while. Let the tears fall if they need to, and let the expectations of the world bounce off you without sticking. You are allowed to take up space on this earth without constantly producing, fixing, or performing. Meeting your weariness without judgment means opening the door to your own tired self, pulling up a chair, and saying, "Come in." You don't have to pretend here. You are safe to just stop. Sometimes the tiredness isn't from physical labor or a demanding schedule. It's the invisible tax of emotional survival. Perhaps you've been trying to heal from a difficult relationship, or you're trying to reinvent your career after an unexpected setback. You might be reading books, listening to podcasts, and trying to untangle years of old habits. This deliberate self-discovery is incredibly taxing. It takes an immense amount of energy to look at your own patterns, to sit with discomfort, and to try to build a new version of yourself. As the psychologist Carl Jung beautifully noted, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. This pain doesn't mean you are doing it wrong. It means you are dismantling old structures. But when that dismantling leaves you entirely depleted, the most conscious thing you can do is to halt the excavation and just sit among the stones. We often forget that emotional labor leaves a physical footprint. You might spend a day just sitting on your couch, staring out the window, processing a painful memory, or trying to forgive someone who never apologized to you. To the outside world, it looks like you are doing absolutely nothing. But internally, you are running a marathon. Your mind is rewriting its history. Your nervous system is trying to settle a decades-old alarm, and your heart is heavy with the weight of grief you finally have the courage to feel. When you open your eyes, after hours of this quiet processing, your body feels like lead. Your limbs ache, your throat feels tight, and you feel a profound emptiness. This is the unseen exhaustion of trying to change from the inside out. It takes a terrifying amount of bravery to look at your own life and admit where things went wrong. It takes an incredible amount of strength to break cycles that were passed down to you, to say, the hurt stops with me. But nobody tells you how lonely that work is. Nobody warns you that when you start peeling back the layers of who you pretended to be to survive, you will feel completely exposed, like someone walking through a winter storm without a coat. You are grieving the person you used to be, even if that person was unhappy, because at least that old version of you was familiar. Walking into the unknown of who you are becoming is a silent, daily battle. You might find yourself crying over small things, a dropped glass, a kind word from a stranger, a song on the radio. It isn't because you are unstable. It's because the walls you built to keep yourself safe are coming down, and everything is hitting you all at once. You are feeling the delayed pain of every time you had to be strong when you wanted to fall apart. You are processing the disappointment of realizing that some things cannot be fixed, and some people cannot accompany you into your next chapter. This is holy work, but it is also heavy work. The trap we fall into is turning our healing into another job. We treat our minds like a construction site that needs constant supervision. We analyze every thought, critique every reaction, and push ourselves to find a breakthrough every single day. But you cannot force a soul to blossom by pulling at its petals. Growth happens in the dark, in the quiet, and most importantly, in the spaces where we rest. If you keep digging up the soil to check if the roots are growing, you will kill the plant. If you are standing today surrounded by the broken pieces of your old perspectives, your old defenses, and your old habits, please remember that you do not have to build the new house today. You do not even have to draw the blueprints. It is enough to just lean against the rubble and breathe. Let the tools fall from your hands. You have looked at your shadows. You have faced your truths. And you have carried the weight of your history. Now, your only job is to let yourself rest from the work of trying to improve. True consciousness isn't just about fighting through the pain. It is also about having the wisdom to know when the soldier inside you needs to lay down their weapons, close their eyes, and simply be held by the quiet. When we are in a state of deep emotional fatigue, we often treat ourselves like a broken appliance. We want to find the broken part, replace it, and get back to peak performance. We approach our healing with a checklist. Did I meditate? Did I write down my thoughts? Did I do my breathing exercises? But healing isn't a project to be managed. When you are bone-deep tired, trying to execute a complicated self-improvement routine just adds another layer of performance anxiety. You cannot force an injury to heal faster by staring at it or poking it. True restoration begins when you drop the agenda. It starts when you accept that right now you don't need to be fixed because you aren't broken. You are simply overwhelmed and under-rested. Think about how exhausting it is to constantly look at your life through the lens of repair. Every morning, you wake up, and before you even open your eyes, your mind starts scanning your body and your emotions, looking for problems. How is my anxiety today? Why do I still feel this heavy weight? Why haven't I gotten over this yet? We have turned our well-being into a corporation, and we are the demanding bosses, demanding progress reports every hour. We look at our sadness, our fatigue, and our lack of motivation as bugs in the system that need to be patched. But what if these things aren't errors at all? What if they are simply the natural, healthy responses of a human heart that has been pushed too far for too long? When you treat yourself like a machine, you rob yourself of your humanity. A machine doesn't need to grieve. It doesn't need to process change, and it doesn't need to take a season to just exist. A machine just needs to work. But you are not made of gears and wires. You are made of memory, emotion, and vulnerability. When your life changes significantly, or when you carry a heavy burden for months on end, you cannot expect yourself to just click back into place like nothing happened. The urge to fix yourself is often just a disguised form of impatience. It is an attempt to skip the uncomfortable, quiet middle part of healing and jump straight to the finish line where you are productive and smiling again. But the middle part is where the actual restoration happens. It happens when you finally stop trying to optimize your morning routine, stop forcing yourself to write in a journal when your hand is too tired to hold a pen, and stop tracking your moods on an app. It happens when you look at the messiness of your current state and decide to leave it alone. Imagine the incredible relief of letting yourself be unfinished. Imagine looking at your unorganized thoughts, your untamed anxiety, and your heavy fatigue, and choosing to sit down right in the middle of them without a plan to change them. We carry so much shame around not being better yet. We look at other people on social media or in our communities who seem to bounce back from hardships with such grace and speed, and we wonder what is wrong with us. We feel like we are failing at our own recovery. But there is no right way to heal. And there is certainly no timeline. Sometimes, the most healing thing you can do is to declare a strike against self-improvement. Let the books sit on the nightstand, collecting dust. Delete the mindfulness apps that make you feel guilty for missing a day. Stop trying to find the deeper meaning behind every single wave of sadness. Right now, your system does not need more tasks. It does not need more strategies or techniques. It needs a soft place to land. It needs you to look at your tired self with unconditional acceptance and say, "You don't have to do anything today to prove you are worthy of existing. You don't have to be better by tomorrow. You are allowed to be exactly as you are, heavy, confused, and exhausted." When you dismantle the expectation to fix yourself, you open the door for true peace to enter. You stop fighting a war against your own mind and body, and you finally allow yourself to just rest in the quiet sanctuary of the present moment. Much of our exhaustion comes from trying to hold up things that are naturally trying to fall apart. We try to sustain relationships that have run their course, maintain lifestyles that drain us, or cling to old identities that no longer fit who we are. It takes a monumental amount of effort to keep up appearances, to force a smile and to say, "I'm fine," when everything inside is screaming for a break. What happens if you stop holding it all up? What if you let the glass drop? Yes, things will shift. People might be disappointed. Tasks will be delayed, and the temporary chaos might feel uncomfortable. But the relief of no longer pretending is the exact space where your energy begins to return. You have to let go of the life you planned to make room for the life that is waiting for you. Think of the sheer, agonizing weight of being the pillar. You are the one everyone counts on to keep the roof from collapsing. When a crisis hits, you swallow your own breath and handle it. When a connection begins to fray, you pull harder from your end, burning through your own emotional reserves just to keep the bridge from collapsing. You have built an entire life out of being dependable, out of being the one who never drops the ball. But your arms are shaking now. Your muscles are screaming, and your spirit is bruised. You are standing there, bracing your back against a wall that is structurally unsound, terrified that if you step away, everything will crumble into dust. But what if some things are meant to crumble? We spend so much of our lives fighting endings. We treat a fading connection, a changing career, or a breaking habit as a personal failure. We think that if we just care enough, try harder, or sacrifice a little more of our own happiness, we can force pieces to fit that no longer belong together. But you cannot hold up a falling sky. The exhaustion you feel right now is the friction of fighting against reality. It is the toll of trying to breathe life into something that has already reached its natural conclusion. When you are bone-deep tired, you simply do not have the currency required to buy more time for things that are dying. Letting the pieces fall feels like a death sentence when you are in the middle of it. It feels like stepping off a cliff into total darkness. You worry about the fallout. You wonder what people will say when they see that you couldn't keep it all together. You worry about the mess you will have to look at tomorrow. But there is a profound, quiet magic that happens when the worst has finally occurred. When the glass finally hits the floor and shatters, the dreadful anticipation is over. The constant, agonizing tension of waiting for it to break vanishes. In its place, a strange and beautiful silence settles over the room. The air clears. You can finally take a full, deep breath because you no longer have to pretend that everything is fine. Look at your life right now and ask yourself, what am I keeping alive at the expense of my own survival? What burden are you carrying that was never actually yours to bear? It is a terrifying realization to admit that you have been holding on to a version of your life that no longer serves the person you are becoming. It hurts to realize that by keeping everyone else comfortable, you have left yourself completely abandoned. Let the pieces fall. Let the commitments you don't have the heart for slide away. Let the people who only value you for what you can give them walk out the door. Let the old version of yourself, the one who never said go, the one who carried the world on their shoulders, finally rest. Yes, there will be rubble. There will be an uncomfortable period of quiet where you look around at the empty spaces. But those empty spaces are not a tragedy. They are a clearing. They are the open, unburdened ground where you can finally stand without a heavy weight pressing down on your chest. You do not have to be the glue for a world that wants to break. Let it break, and let yourself be free. We spend so much time trying to stay in the light, trying to be optimistic, productive, and cheerful. We push away our sadness, our grief, and our exhaustion because they feel inconvenient or uncomfortable. But those heavier emotions carry essential data. Carl Jung observed that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you are too tired to try, it is often because your subconscious mind is refusing to participate in the forced positivity anymore. It is forcing you into the shadow, into the quiet, slow spaces where real integration happens. Your fatigue is a boundary. It is your mind and body drawing a line in the sand and saying, we must look at what we've been running from. Think about how much energy it takes to constantly fake a smile when your heart is heavy. Think about the silent exhaustion of pretending everything is fine when, inside, you feel completely disconnected. We treat our sadness and our fatigue like enemies, locking them away in a dark room inside our minds, hoping they will disappear if we ignore them long enough. We tell ourselves that we need to be strong, that we need to look on the bright side, and that we shouldn't complain because others have it worse. But forced optimism is just a beautiful lie we tell ourselves to avoid the pain of our own reality. It is an exhausting performance that drains the very last drops of our emotional reserves. When you are bone-deep tired, your body is effectively staging a rebellion against this performance. It is pulling the plug on the bright lights and forcing you to sit in the dark. This darkness isn't a punishment. It is a sanctuary. It is the only place where you can finally stop pretending. When you are too weak to fight, you are finally forced to listen to the parts of yourself you have ignored for years. In the quiet stillness of the shadow, your exhaustion has a voice. If you listen closely, it isn't just saying, "I am tired." It is saying, "I am tired of being lonely. I am tired of putting myself last. I am tired of living a life that doesn't feel like my own." There is a strange, quiet relief that comes when you stop running from your heavy feelings and just let them sit next to you. Imagine sitting on the floor of a dark room, letting your shoulders drop, and admitting out loud, "I am sad. I am disappointed. I am completely lost." There is no shame in this space. The shadow does not demand a 5-year plan or a quick fix. It simply asks for your presence. It asks you to acknowledge the pain you have carried for so long without trying to sugarcoat it or wrap it in a neat little bow. We are terrified of the dark because we think that if we drop into our sadness, we will drown in it. We worry that if we let ourselves feel the full weight of our exhaustion, we will never get back up. But the opposite is true. It is the act of resisting the dark that keeps us trapped in a state of perpetual burnout. When you finally stop fighting and allow yourself to sink into the heavy quiet, you find that the bottom is solid ground. You realize that you can survive the truth of your feelings. The shadow is not an empty, hollow void. It is a rich, fertile soil. Just as a seed needs the dark of the earth to break open and grow, your soul needs these quiet, heavy periods to integrate your life experiences. This is where you process the grief of what you have lost. This is where you come to terms with the changes you didn't ask for. It is here, far away from the demanding expectations of the outside world, that you begin to discover who you actually are when you have nothing left to give. Let yourself be heavy for a while. Let the tears come without trying to analyze them or stop them. Give up the need to find the silver lining in your current struggle. Sometimes things just hurt. And sometimes life is just incredibly hard. Acknowledging that truth isn't giving up. It is the ultimate form of self-honesty. When you make your darkness conscious, you stop treating your tired soul like a problem to be solved and start treating it like a friend who needs comfort. Trust the quiet. Trust the stillness. The light will return when it is time. But for right now, the wisdom you need is waiting for you right here in the deep, unhurried shadows. What does it look like to do absolutely nothing with intention? It's not watching a stressful show while scrolling through your phone, nor is it lying in bed while your mind races with tomorrow's to-do list. Radical non-doing is the deliberate choice to step off the wheel entirely. It is looking at an afternoon and deciding that your only assignment is to breathe, to exist, and to let time pass without needing to extract value from it. When you are too exhausted to try, this is the only medicine that works. It is the practice of teaching your nervous system that you are safe, even when you aren't achieving anything. Think about how deeply ingrained the urge to be productive really is. Even when we are completely broken down, we still try to optimize our collapse. We lie on the couch, but we feel a nagging sense of guilt, looking at the dust on the bookshelf. We take a day off, but we spend the entire time checking our notifications, keeping one foot firmly planted in the world of demands. We have forgotten how to just exist. We treat empty space in our calendar like a vacuum that needs to be filled immediately, rather than a sanctuary where our spirit can catch its breath. Radical non-doing means reclaiming that empty space. It is an act of fierce love for yourself, where you draw a hard line around your remaining energy and refuse to let the world take another bite out of you. Imagine the freedom of a day with absolutely no expectations. Picture waking up and realizing that you don't have to fix a single thing today. You don't have to be a good partner, a stellar employee, a perfect parent, or a disciplined human being. You are just a person, breathing in and breathing out, sitting on a chair, watching the shadows move across the floor as the sun passes over the house. The unread emails will sit in the inbox, and the world will somehow find a way to keep spinning without your permission. The sheer relief of realizing that you are allowed to let go of the reins is where the healing begins. When you are bone-deep tired, your body is trapped in a state of high alert. It feels like a country that has been at war for so long that it doesn't know how to live in peace anymore. Every sudden noise, every notification ping, and every minor request feels like a threat. You cannot talk a terrified nervous system into calming down. You have to show it that it is safe through your actions. And the most powerful action you can take is to do absolutely nothing. By refusing to participate in the frantic rush of life, you are sending a clear, undeniable message to your body. The crisis is over. We are safe now. You can finally let go. It will feel uncomfortable at first. The silence will feel loud, and the urge to reach for your phone or start a chore will feel like an itch you desperately need to scratch. That is just the residual momentum of your stress trying to pull you back into the race. Sit through that discomfort. Let the restlessness wash over you without acting on it. If you need to spend 3 hours just staring at a blank wall or watching water boil, let yourself do it. There is no wrong way to do nothing. You are not wasting time. You are actively rebuilding the depleted foundations of your life. We have been sold the lie that we are only valuable when we are useful. We treat our lives like a business that needs to show constant growth and profit. But you are not a product to be marketed, and your life is not a corporate report. You are a living entity that requires deep, unhurried stillness to survive. Radical non-doing is the moment you stop paying the tax of endless effort. It is the moment you pull up the anchor, let the boat drift into the quiet water, and trust that you will not drown just because you stopped rowing. Give yourself this one day, this 1 hour, this one moment of pure, unadulterated emptiness. You have earned the right to just be. Eventually, the heaviest fog begins to lift, even if just a little. But the trap here is trying to sprint the moment you find your footing, which immediately triggers the cycle of burnout all over again. Healing from deep exhaustion requires an entirely new relationship with time and effort. It means celebrating ridiculously small victories. Moving from the bed to the couch is a victory. Looking out the window for 5 minutes without checking your phone is a victory. It's about building a foundation of tiny, sustainable choices. You don't have to figure out the next 5 years of your life today. You don't even have to figure out tomorrow. You just have to navigate the next hour with gentleness and care. Think about that first morning when you wake up and the air doesn't feel quite as heavy on your chest. Your mind immediately tries to hijack the moment. It says, "Oh, look, we have a tiny bit of energy today. Let's clean the entire house, reply to all 50 unread emails, go to the grocery store, and finally start that workout plan." We mistake a tiny flicker of renewed life for a raging fire, and we throw all our heavy logs onto it at once, completely smothering the flame. We are so desperate to get back to normal that we forget that our normal was exactly what broke us in the first place. You cannot rebuild a life that was shattered by overexertion by using the exact same tools of overexertion. You have to learn the art of the micro step. When you are coming out of a season of bone-deep exhaustion, a normal step is too big. A normal expectation is too heavy. You need to lower the bar so low that it feels almost silly. If making a full meal feels like climbing a mountain, your victory for the day is eating a piece of fruit or drinking a glass of water. If writing a long message to a friend feels overwhelming, your victory is sending a single heart emoji to let them know you are alive. We dismiss these tiny actions because they don't look like progress to the outside world. We compare our small steps to other people's giant leaps, and we feel ashamed. But when you are recovering from deep burnout, staying alive and choosing peace over pressure is a massive achievement. Imagine treating yourself like a toddler who is learning how to walk again after a long illness. You wouldn't stand them up and expect them to run a marathon. You would hold their hands, cheer for a single, shaky step, and immediately let them sit down and rest when their legs started to tremble. Why can't you give that same sweet, patient grace to yourself? Every time you choose to do less than your maximum capacity, you are making a deposit into your healing bank account. You are proving to your nervous system that you are no longer going to exploit your own energy for the sake of productivity. This is a quiet, slow reconstruction. It is built in the ordinary moments that nobody else will ever see or applaud. It's the moment you feel the urge to push through your tiredness to finish a chore, but you choose to leave it half done and lie down instead. It's the moment you say no to an invitation, not because you have other plans, but because your plan is to protect your peace. These tiny boundaries are the bricks that will build the foundation of your new life. They are small, but they are incredibly strong. Let go of the pressure to have it all figured out. You don't need a grand strategy for your future right now. You don't need to know how you are going to fix your career, or heal your relationship, or change your entire life. When you try to look at the whole picture from a place of fragile recovery, it will always look terrifying and impossible. Shrink your world down. Shrink it down to just this afternoon. Shrink it down to just this next breath. If you can manage to do one small, kind thing for yourself in the next 10 minutes, you have succeeded. Trust that these tiny, microscopic choices will eventually add up. They will create a path beneath your feet, step by beautiful step, leading you out of the wilderness and back to a life that actually feels safe and sustainable to live. The version of you that emerges from deep exhaustion will not look like the version that entered it. And that is exactly the point. This bone-deep tiredness is a crucible. It burns away the people-pleasing, the unnecessary burdens, the forced expectations, and the unsustainable pace you were keeping. You aren't going back to who you were. You are arriving at who you actually are. You are learning to live with boundaries, to honor your limitations, and to value your peace over validation from the outside world. Healing when you're too tired to try isn't about effort. It's about surrender. It's about trusting that beneath the exhaustion, your natural capacity for renewal is quietly working, waiting for you to simply get out of your own way and rest. Think about the old version of you for a moment. That person was good and kind and tried so incredibly hard. But that person also believed that their love had to be earned through endless sacrifice. They believed that saying no made them a bad person, and that taking up space on this earth required a daily justification of hard work and perfect performance. That version of you had to break down because the path they were walking was a dead end. The collapse wasn't a tragedy. It was a rescue mission. Your body and mind stepped in to save you from a life of continuous self-abandonment. As you sit in the quiet aftermath of this deep fatigue, you might feel a sense of grief for the person you used to be. You might miss the high energy, the easy smiles, and the illusion that you could handle anything thrown your way. But if you look closely at who you are becoming right now, you will see someone far more beautiful. You will see someone who is soft but strong, someone who knows the exact layout of their own boundaries and isn't afraid to defend them. You are transforming from someone who belongs to everyone else into someone who finally belongs to themselves. Now, your only assignment is to stay here, rooted in your own truth. Let the world rush by if it wants to. Let others run their frantic races. You have found a different way to live, a way that honors the quiet seasons, values peace over productivity, and treasures the simple miracle of your own breath. You are finally home. You are finally yourself, and that is more than enough.